Greetings. I ain't even gonna put this off because I ain't even gonna say it's something. I don't wanna give power to nothing else, but bring it back to myself. Sometimes you really don't have to know how you wanna do something. I mean, you know, but at the same moment, you're like, try not to psych yourself out of like actually doing it. um, and then I don't even know how I'm gonna set this up because I have the ideas around how I want to do this. Man, when should I do video? You know what? I'm gonna actually do video and then do a podcast. Cause I had created a podcast and I forgot the fucking password to it. But then I had to think about this. That podcast, Spotify podcast, has changed to, what is it called? Another podcast. I forgot the name of it, but let's give honor to Source, the Creator, the Most High, for making all this possible. Clap it up for yourself along your journey. But basically, like the podcast that I want to create or am going to create, it's in motion. It's going to have episodes. I feel like I'm doing great with doing the visual thing, so I'm just trying to figure out what next. So basically, I spoke about it on one of my other videos, so I don't know if I'm gonna post this on my old page or the new one. Either way, I'm gonna dive in a little to more details about this now. So I'm trying to think, do I want to make it available on both pages? This may probably be the introduction to the new page. So it's gonna be an introduction. Because it's very vital, the things that I'm gonna discuss, because when something comes to me, I like immediately go to my phone or go to my notes and start like putting it in because I get so many ideas. And this is very significant for the matriarchal because it basically highlights the mother energy and the father womb, the mother womb and the father womb. And what I'm recognizing is I'm through my healing of the mother wound and now bringing awareness to the father wound is bringing awareness of the bridge. It's like a bridge to settle that which we haven't made peace with. So that being said, I was walking the other day and came up with a topic. And it was so amazing because the topic is, what is it? What is the topic? It's something like the conversations you never had with your father. Something like that. I know I'm gonna put it in the subtitle when I get finished with this video. But it was basically that, like, the conversations you never had with your father. And then this is gonna consist of different episodes, like the conversations of an absent father that you never had. I think that's what the title was, basically the conversations of a father that you never had. Like the conversations you never had with a father that wasn't present. You get where I'm going with this. And this is very significant because it's going to highlight and be able to bridge worlds between women who have fathers and then women who didn't have fathers. And what this does is it allows the feminine, like the mother wound, and it's not gender related, but it allows those uncomfortabilities to come up and then be able to realize how merge worlds between like this person living in their reality and this person living in this reality, them understanding and then this person overstanding more of like, maybe this is why this person acts this way. And this brings more of that emotional compassion, this emotional empathy, merging that which you didn't have for yourself, and now being able to see, because naturally what can happen that people don't realize subconsciously and unconsciously, that a person, and I'm telling you from my experience, a person can actually envy, and you can see this that's never talked about. Some women, and some of them are unconscious of this, and it happens with men too. Some women can actually envy another woman's relationship or family dynamics simply because they may have not had a father figure. Now, you can see this happen a lot with how a lot of intimate settings where people try to, in a way, being that they're not at peace or haven't healed certain things, that they do. A sister said, like, there's a difference between a woman and a female, but it's not the gender thing. She was just saying, like, a woman mature would do things what women do. They don't talk about other women. They don't do things as such because, womanhood. But then she was like, a female does certain things, basically immature, out of a way to be spiteful or to disrupt or to intervene and so forth. So I'm realizing, like, how a lot of things that I'm bringing full circle due to this bridging or merging is realizing, like, how significant my daughter and my mother getting more of a deeper awareness or insight or even broader perspective on everything. And one of the things that were very important was the fact of this: me being present in my daughter's life at a point in time, being absent, not only brought up the mother wounds connected to myself and my mother, but now I'm able, in the healing process of that and navigating through that, it's able for me to now bring up what I say, these episodes. It's funny how it's called episodes, like when people have episodes in their life, but bring up these ideas and these topics that are almost like a collective thing, but the absence of it is like basically like I'm in position to actually have this conversation you never had with your father, to bring a different perspective, to bring a sense of awareness, self-awareness, or healing around the actions, the approach, the intention, the reasoning, the self-awareness of why you make the decisions that you make. What are you holding on to that you don't even realize you're holding on to? And so for me, it's like, that's the bigger thing that I feel most men don't, if they're not in tune, will never discuss. So me being in tune, becoming more aware of my own darkness and learning more about being my own light in my darkness, it's like it's shining light on, now I can see why this individual acts or does this. I can see the spiritual significance. I can see the unhealthy attachment. I can see the spiritual entity or certain things attached to them, to why they are avoidance towards being a cycle breaker. Meaning that if they knew the significance of not just being a mother, but embracing and being held by the divine, by source, by the creator, what it is to be held beyond just looking for it being held for someone else, then they will see the significance of how that ripples to the young men that they're raising, or the little girls and so forth. So again, this brought up the fact of, wow, what are the conversations my grandfather never had with my mother? Did my mother actually have healthy dialogue? Were there anything that he did not protect her from or did not pour into her? Now I'm realizing in my connection with my daughter, I'm realizing like a part of her is like this external expression of that which was a part of me at a time. And some may call it like a manifestation. Your children are a manifestation of you, and whatever energy you were in at that moment. And then evolution, like where I can say I'm at, through evolving from what was familiar, now being away from my mother at a time where I was navigating the mother wound, I felt like, oh my gosh, I could never, not even just love her again, because it's beyond love. It was being able to navigate through the emotions that was never processed from what was done to me as a little boy that grew into a man, and that little boy never left. So now, holding on to that, not just affected me, but it affects your child. It's the unprocessed emotion. It's the unresolved thing. So when you think about conversations you never had with your father, conversations of things that you felt he should have protected you from, these are the things I'm going to dive into. And I have different topics like the father that you never got to speak to, that was in prison, that was incarcerated, things as such. And it's just like, not even just the conversation, it's just like, well, if you had any questions, what would you ask me? And it's almost like that dialogue, because what happens is we create this inner dialogue, and naturally it becomes a part of our programming. And then naturally this programming, it distorts our purpose, because you either are programmed or you living out your purpose. I can honestly say, from even being connected to my children's mother and so forth, I am able to see the perspective of how her father raised her or grew her. And in that interaction, you can see why, or the pattern of why, certain structures aren't as stable in certain ways. And this goes for all types of women. All women, whether you have children or not, is to bring the conversations, and even the fact of, like, when I see her, my mother, and my daughter, it's three different worlds. Three different worlds. For one, a person that doesn't look like me. And then, her father's lens from that perspective look completely than a man who looks like me. So for one, that already is a subconscious or some type of programming, whether her father was living in integrity or authenticity, whether he lived out his purpose, whether he actually, navigated through his mother wounds. And from all honesty, again, a conversation that when you meet someone and come into connection with someone and you have children, these are things that, again, that was unprocessed, that you're also coming to a hedge, that you don't even realize that you're going to have these interactions with this person. Meaning that whatever was unresolved between her and her father, whatever conversations, whatever blueprint that he gave her subconsciously and even consciously, even unconscious behavior patterns, sometimes a lot of women don't even realize. Even, later on now, a lot of them start to become aware of the emotional disconnect a lot of fathers had due to them chasing the bag or chasing a career or going out there. And again, this is not to fault anyone for the fact of their father providing them shelter and so forth, but that was the one-dimensional aspect of it. That was just only the foundation a lot of you received. You didn't receive the emotional available father. And most of the time, what is not being said has a lot to do with their programming from their father and or a mother, and most likely the connection to their mother. Their mother and how she nurtured herself, and in her inability not to, that she wouldn't know how to nurture him. So, I've had this conversation with the mother of my children. I'm like, oh, I get it now. This underlying secret competition has nothing to do with you as a woman. But some of y'all that probably have no idea why a lot of men or fathers who are secretly competitive or egotistical around the idea of not just, which naturally can be a protective thing as a father would be to his daughter naturally. But there's more to it just being protective. As I've learned as a father through, unraveling and things, life unfolds, that I naturally start to realize with seeing how a father nurtured or treated their daughter, and eventually these things come out, whether they're present or absent. Because sometimes they're present. Ooh, I'm picking up on something. Sometimes they're present physically but absent in the spirit, meaning they dissociated from their emotions or from compassion in itself. So this is why you can see a lot of these conversations you never have with a father, because they don't have compassion for themselves, which is connected to their emotions or even the empathetic aspect of what the feminine represents or give birth to. And that's not gender. Again, it's a foundation they were given when they were young. So a lot of these things that are coming up now has a lot to do with the healing in reverse, which at a point in time had to play out forwardly, but the reverse is forward, if that makes sense. So it's like going inward, because the past is like going reverse, but you still got to move forward. So it's like, that's the importance of being present. So for a lot of fathers, what I recognize, and men presently that are not present, has a lot to do with the fact of not only what they were never shown, but in their inability to connect to their emotional state, their mental state, and so forth, where mainly their emotional resonance from their mother, they naturally, unconsciously act this out. And most of the time, their subconscious fears is to have that dialogue with their daughters. Because what it does, again, the beauty of the princess, the beauty of the daughter, the significance of the lunar cycles is everything happens in cycles. But again, the significance of, shout out to Sister Myra. And something keep telling me, let's give our honor to the ancestors known and unknown for the highest good of all. The significance of what the daughter and the mother is that they mirror, even through the fact of the mother, son, father, daughter. This is that energy that is in reverse as we speak between the daughter and the father, which again still mirrors back the father being the son at a point in time and the daughter being the mother at a point in time. So again, the illusion of separation has people believing that you are separate from your child. You are not. You're literally mirrors of each other. This is why it can be so fucking triggering with your children. It's because it's so much of a part of you that reflects your inner dialogue, your inner child, what you were in conflict with, if that makes sense. Like I realized, like, I have this natural connection towards my son simply because it's not that my daughter isn't me in a way, in the sense of like just what she represents, but she still has her own individual purpose. My son does too. It's what it is a gravitational pull to me, being that what I've experienced with women, to naturally be so engaged with my son, to be like, oh, I must in any way make you feel happy, or not even make you, but I'm naturally going to be, as my elder told me, like, you're going to want to have a son rather than a daughter. I didn't know the significance of it until I see now or experience it, because a part of me did not experience so much joy and experience when I was young, to where when I see my son, I see so much of myself that did not experience certain things in childhood. Now the balance has to come in to where my daughter's very significant too, because she reminds me of that shadow aspect. They both do, but she's more of the emotional aspect, just as women are. And the significance of that I was getting into is, like, again, the daughter, they hold the significance spiritually, being connected to the divine, to source, and so forth. So with that, they're having to see a man or individual such as myself. Like, I had to learn to now realize these conversations that I did not have with my mother. I'm realizing, like, a lot of things that were hidden in what I had experienced with women, she reflects it as a little girl. And it's not in the sense of like the pain. No, it's the fact of what was hidden in those dark aspects of that I did not experience emotional safety. So her mirror back to me mirrors back through her expressing her emotions, and it being so powerful has a lot to do with the uncomfortability of coming back home and realizing what emotional safety is, because she's naturally, when they're children, they're naturally needing to see mirrored from a parent or guardian to see what it is to be stable in emotion. So this is why, again, I notice the significance of, as much as it's like I want to experience my son, there's a balance. Because they're so small to where they don't know how to regulate their emotions. So just imagine, again, I didn't have people who guided me through regulating. So, and it's funny how karma, these lessons, it's not bad or good, how our children are very significant to reminding us of the bigger picture. Even though you went through this in childhood, again, this is important to the conversations, because her being present, now I'm able to realize, to see why my mother and or women that I've dated, that I connected with, were seeking validation, acceptance, or even this unfulfilled thing that pertained to men, but really mirrored back their father wound or something that they felt they did not receive, or that very thing. It seems like my daughter, that reassurance, is similarly to what you see in a lot of women who are unconscious of what they do. It's like when you see the dating scenes and all this other stuff, a lot of the reassurance, they don't realize a lot of the things that they're looking for externally in men, it literally reflects their core values or what they value. And if they did not have a father who actually had conversations and dialogues, like I've actually said to my daughter, she got upset the other day and said that I don't like that. You know what I said? I said, I don't like what you did either. But it's the honesty and the integrity. You don't have to like me for implementing discipline for your protection. I mean, that's okay. Now think about a lot of women who never had the conversations with their father, where their father not just warned them, but actually planted seeds on not just what type of men, but also the emotional, spiritual, mental significance of what it is to be yourself without needing someone, and in the sense of like needing their acceptance or their validation from a man, from any other person. That's why it's important. I realized the conversations, why I realized my mother never had with her father. And this is where it goes deeper, to where even where I told y'all about emotional incest, because a lot of these, what is it called, son husbands, or how unconsciously men do this too, how they due to their inability to be secure or emotionally secure, what ends up happening is that they shelter the son, they smother him, and push out the daughter. And a lot of this significance is this think about the fact of, if women who knew the importance of being secure within themselves, then they will encourage their sons, nurture their sons to actually navigate and guide them in the importance of being secure emotionally, to not just attract, because they will attract all types of women and energies and people and so forth, but knowing, being discerning and decisive on what type of woman that will actually elevate him into a higher place, or for the betterment of himself, or to who's not just focused on lower level stuff when it comes to just sex. that would be vital, but it would be more in an intimate setting when it comes to mental, emotional, and spiritual. So now what we have here again is the conversations going back to the root of things is where it's not your fault as women and mothers. It's not your fault, whomever you are, even if you don't subscribe to gender. A lot of the significance is where, again, even if you don't subscribe to gender, it's still the significance of what you felt you did not have, to where, again, you're going down this road or going in life where maybe a lot of things that you went into, you ask yourself, well, did I go into this because maybe I was sexually abused or abused and so forth? A lot of this happens. These are the conversations in the episodes that I'm gonna talk about where you've had women going to venture off into certain things because of what the wounding behind, not just the father wound. When I say father wound, it's like being wounded by men. So a lot of them go and venture off into this, this world of they've created this wall against what men are and so forth, rather than developing a healthy dialogue or foundation or authenticity or integrity around it. And so this typically can happen. Again, there's no judgment, but you can see why a lot of them can venture off into, if you want to call it same sex and so forth, and then have a son. And I'm just saying, it's not about judgment. It's just the fact of saying how that still affects a child. That still affects the fact of how you're trying to show up. Even if you're still, like I said, this is not everyone. It's just the fact of just reading the energy and so forth, to where some people, when they receive this, they realize, oh, I've been living a lie. Let me get me together. Because a lot of people hide behind the mask of the pain. They hide behind what they've experienced. And now, due to that, they have this resentment or this thing with why they date the same sex, and realizing like they still have the urge to be amongst men or do things. But again, it's the in denial behind the father wound or the anger, the resentment. And a lot of that goes back to not just what the men did, but sometimes it goes back to what happened in your childhood or stemming from why the father that you were absent did not protect you. So again, this is all about getting through things, and it doesn't matter your preference and what sexual preference or orientation. It doesn't matter to me. It's about the fact of you being able to come home to yourself, forgiving yourself, accepting, and realizing that too is a process. Whether you go through a process with learning yourself and that uncomfortability around the fact of no longer being misleading or realizing like you're going to be judged if you choose not to, disclose or want to be with certain people. That's on you. I went down that road. I questioned it. And it's so funny because I had no one to guide me. I had no one to tell me and direct me. But now where I'm at, again, I'm able to see through different perspectives without judgment, to realize like I'm just addressing it and then being better in my approach. But again, these are a lot of the conversations that I'm gonna dive into deeper, that when it pertains to realizing like the significance of my daughter to now connect to other women, and realizing like in that it's also building upon foundations where our women can feel safe again, emotionally safe. Not disguise it, but emotionally safe, because you can't pretend to be at peace, because it will disrupt everything around you. And no one truly has and been at that place when you look at the dialogues and when you even see the narrative that's pushed around how everyone should be, what they should be, even what they should make. All these unrealistic illusion type fucking shit that we're living in. So again, me being able now at a point in time, like I said, I didn't even want to have compassion for my mother, but now I'm able, through navigating through the emotions, through the experience, yes, I have set boundaries, but at the same moment, the boundaries are implemented because this is a person And for some of y'all realize once you start, how I see my mother, you start to see the father, to where the boundaries start to be implemented. And then you start, as you're healing, you set boundaries also for yourself. And it would be the same for men. Because you're allowing yourself to heal that little girl, just like I had to allow myself to heal that little boy. But I also have to recognize through discernment that, just like intuition, I had to learn like this person isn't safe because they haven't healed. And so think about, for once, a lot of these things that you feel you did not get when you were a child, or when your father or someone didn't give you, maybe it was meant for you not to receive, just for you to give it to yourself now. Instead of you thinking that this, no matter how many men you go through, ask yourself, a part of you, when you get to that self-realization, you've been in a cycle of giving more, that you've been giving up more than you've been receiving. And a lot of that is rooted in unfulfillment, or a part of what we did not receive when we were young. It's natural. I'm 36 and I'm seeing the importance of the uncomfortability that in pouring into myself, it has brought up so much uncomfortability for other people. And I ask myself, well, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing absolutely everything aligned. It ain't even about being right. It's the simple fact of, now I would never have these conversations. I would never be speaking to y'all about this, because had I not realized the importance of seeing the pattern, not the person, the pattern and the spiritual significance behind it. Because everyone has the opportunity to go through the shadow work, to go through a deeper awareness about who they are and so forth. And then being able to allow them to, just as a child goes through things and has to learn like not to keep doing things. So the significance of, a lot of men don't realize, being away from your child, like it's so significant into even realizing like the integrity of being present with yourself, and sometimes just allowing things to happen and getting in position to be prepared. Because you don't always see eye to eye with people, but you just need to just get prepared. You can't control people. Everyone has their free will. So I know the significance of these conversations, because I'm able to hold space. Being able to hold space for myself more is me being able to realize, like, wow, me being present with my daughter allows me to see what my mother did not have. Ask yourself that. You being present if you're a mother, you being present in your son's life. Think about his father not having his mother. And we don't see the significance in that, but it's very significant. Because then you will see why, for some of y'all to come into this awareness, how much your healing is connected to them. Your self-awareness, as much as you can't change the father of your children or the mother of your children, that's the significance of being in integrity, being in authenticity, loving yourself and so forth. That's the purpose of being a cycle breaker. That's the purpose of even karmic shit happening. Whether you have 5 kids by the same person, 3 kids by 3 different people, it doesn't matter. I bring this to y'all to realize it's all about learning to hold space for yourself. And then you align with people who do, have done the work, inner work and so forth. So it's very significant. Because what ends up happening is that what we unconsciously do, we'll drag our children into shit that don't even involve them. Some things, meaning that some shit we're meant to face by ourselves, not with our children. And some things we're meant to face, not just physically secluded, but that is spiritual. So then what ends up happening, and I know that's easy said and done, but this is what's coming down the pipeline. This is what's being implemented. This is the beauty of what is aligning. And the support comes from the mothers that are ready for this shit. Then you'll be able to see the significance of, well, what type of man doesn't want to encourage me to be abstinence or restrained from certain things, but he still wants me to keep having his fucking babies? That says a lot about you, for one, and it says a lot about his self-worth, especially if he doesn't want to be there. Because I'm be honest with y'all, a lot of shit, I was the same way, a lot of shit y'all hold that has nothing to do with the other person. When are you going to see the significance of your role? Because you have the opportunity now to hold space for yourself. Me as a man, somebody, I gotta see what time I'm at. Somebody gotta come along and give y'all the fucking real and raw. People playing in your face, I'm telling you. And then once you start to realize, like, it ain't that they playing in your face. Once you get to your self-worth and self-value, you be like, you know what? You know the fuck what? You ain't playing in my face no more. Because these are the conversations. It's just like, again, holding the energy not just from a man, because some of you would see the lens from just a man, but the higher awareness would see, okay, this man is a father. And then not only that, he's not just a father, he's a man who's experienced what it is to navigate through a mother womb and then navigate through the fact of, I also had an absent father. And it was connected to the inability of his free will, but also my mother's free will. Her role and his role, and then having to realize, like, who has taken accountability? Someone in the mature state has to take accountability for their role for either keep laying down and having babies, or the accountability in where someone has to heal. Someone has to face something. And then that's when you realize how you're able to build amongst other women who are like-minded, in tune, who want the betterment, not only just for themselves, because their betterment for themselves is connected to their children. So guess what that comes with? That's gonna come with you not always being around them, because that's what you want, right? Let's be fucking real. That's what you need. And the divine will open that up. That was some of the most uncomfortable things for me as a man. Because I've noticed this thing where even the fucking like, y'all don't realize how much shit is collapsing for the healing for everyone, for self-awareness. It's naturally, like, we think that, like, I'm just telling you from experience, I know a lot of women who believe that men have more freedom in them. And that's far from the truth. There's a lot, there's still responsibility around the fact of, even on his individual path, as a person, as an individual, as a human, as a soul in his journey, I had to express this to the mother of my kid. I'm like, yo, when I go out there, my experience is not like yours. For one, I have my own vices. I have my own thing that I'm going through. I'm still navigating through things that has nothing to do with you before I arrive to you. Now, how many people have that awareness? We never got this guidance or awareness of the fact of, what has this person dealt with before I connected with them? Shit, we all have red flags. Let's be real. Integrity is being able to acknowledge them and then navigate and work through them. So again, I've had to express to her, like, there's things I have to deal with outside of you. Where do I let my ego rise up, or do I let my pride? It's so many different things. Do I let my emotions get the best of me? Same thing with y'all. It's not, y'all be around the kids, some of y'all raising kids and be around kids so much and for so long, and you telling yourself, like I say it all the time, bro, I don't know how the fuck y'all do it. Y'all have so much, like, y'all really magical. Y'all really powerful, because I tell myself, like, bro, there's no way. I mean, I can see it like now, but for some of y'all, like, how many kids y'all watch or whatever it is you do, I mean, I ask myself from the outside looking in, how could I not spaz or do the best I can if you as a single mother are asked to just be the father to you? And then for some of y'all, it's like, I get it. When I see some of these men as fathers, whether they're like focused on their careers or focused on whatever it is, or have a mind driven towards money, you're in competition with the man's career rather than even his you don't even know, like, his ego, rather than him being in his own authenticity and truth and his integrity. And a lot of that was because of what he grew up in or because of what he was given. Y'all talking about narratives, things that people were given that they were never told that it was wrong or it was like it was gonna fuck people up, it was gonna affect their life. They've been living this shit consistently. Do you know, bro, do you know how difficult and challenging it is for a lot of people to break a habit? Let alone the spirit attached to that idea or attached to them to even know like how to even get out of it, how to navigate it, and then even have the support through it. I'm telling you from experience, most of them don't even have the support. And it works both ways. Imagine trying to step up and you telling yourself like you want to introduce or be with someone that, you know, have kids or don't have kids. A lot of you never have or never been introduced to even an idea of what a healthy man is. If you never had the conversations with fathers or had an absent father, being what you've been given through media from grandma, because let's hold them accountable, encouraging little girls to be whores, encouraging them to be just like them. Because y'all don't realize the cycle plays out from grandma, great grandma, and all like them through y'all. The cycles of pain, the cycles of being dissociated, being emotionally disconnected. And y'all are the cycle breakers. Because then how are you gonna be able to build amongst these women? Because most of y'all are in confined spaces or in these areas where as much as you uniquely think different or want to be different or want to be authentic, want to be better, you go outside and look, or you in some of these spaces and there's no one like you. And that's what all coaches and creeds and so forth. Because there are women who want to be amongst women that don't look like them, who don't have the same religious beliefs and so forth. But I'm telling you, I've met women, and most of the times I see the significance of how my daughter is so connected to me, like being a daddy's girl. Some of y'all didn't even have the opportunity to be that. Some of y'all want to be a daddy's girl, and you never had the opportunity. And I see how my daughter is, the way she has cried out to me, not her mom, but it's nothing against her mother. It's just the fact of there's something there that, again, it's almost like this light dark aspect. The dark, like when daughters and women are like the moon, if I could describe that. It's like the yin to the yang. So they naturally look towards a father as if this reassurance is almost like the light at the end of the tunnel. And think about a lot of women who have navigated through life who never saw the light. And the light is that truth, that discipline, that structure, those masculine attributes. So they absorbed all these things and represent everything feminine, and that's chaos, creation. You know, there's everything that's feminine, everything that's of the dark, but never had anything. So it's very difficult for someone to step in and say, yo. And that's why you see that narrative of how certain men can come in, and it's go both ways. How some women aren't ready for a man that's holistic, that's in tune, that's spiritual and so forth, because it scares the living shit out of them, or they're not familiar with that. And there's different perspectives. You got some women, they're used to dope boys or used to guys and this. You got some women, white collar, they're used to the farm men, they're used to their dad, so many different things. But again, it's the familiarity. It's what's familiar to them, and then it's the uncomfortability around them being exposed from a father who who were, had self-hatred towards people that are darker. So now their daughter get introduced because their father never had the conversation about other men that not just look like them, but even if they did have the conversation, it probably wasn't pleasant. So then that piqued their daughter's curiosity. It goes so much deeper. Not to mention, Again, the women who had absent fathers or who had no type of guidance or someone to reassure them. So now they're out in the open. I'm telling you, I've seen women that still prostitute to this day, and I'm just looking at them like, wow. They never had, and when you think about it, it's like they never had, most likely, you know, a high percentage of them never had a man, young and say, that's not okay. Or a father say, you don't have to do this to feel valued or worthy. And it goes much deeper because again, it's so many different worlds, there's so many different perspectives of, again, it piques people's curiosity. It's just like a child, their imagination. How some of them are closed off purposefully. Even how certain conversations, like I got one episode, I'm gonna leave it here though, talks about like even being a preacher's daughter. It's deeper because you have so much, my perspective on that, my concept is the fact of how much that individual can be so consumed more so about the acceptance and validation of their father, but yet there's still a piece missing because when you look at the religious aspect and the constraint on it and even the spiritual significance of how I've said before, how a certain figure was used as a father wound, and it still leaves a gap to where if you're teaching your daughter to look towards someone else, and especially if the man doesn't look like you, and you being darker, and then you're telling it, like I see that as so much fucking confusion and manipulation around trying to tell your daughter to look for a source of something for acceptance, to how to be, how to live. And that's in so many different religions. Instead of them realizing the importance of their sovereignty, their individuality, they're being who they are, they're blossoming, they're becoming. And that's what some of y'all are. I'm gonna leave it here. Y'all are still blossoming. You are still that flower in the garden, love. Only thing is that for some of you, you never had the person or individual that was supposed to water you from birth. You never had the person to water you with the importance of how it is to remember to water yourself, to be self-sufficient. And I don't mean self-sacrificing, and I don't mean this whole bullshit concept of you self-sacrificing everything for that man to be in your life. You doing everything for him. Again, that as much as y'all don't want to accept is a mother wound. I've been there. A woman doing everything. And then a lot of those men, because something not connected in their mind or their own independence to where they don't know how to step into their own confident or higher self or to nurture the little boy, because that little boy would then have dreams or admirations or have goals to be something. He will cherish and want to step into whether you call, I'm gonna say priesthood, but almost like adulthood or manhood, but still see the importance of the brotherhood, the childhood aspect. So think about a lot of us again. It's the fact of how a lot of us have been a part of things, and some of us don't want to accept that we've been in the dark, and this illusion or this spell almost has been cast to believe that you're not sovereign in your own birthright to blossom and be who you are. So for a lot of you as women, a lot of the demographics, a lot of places where you are is very significant to the collapsing of the fact of so much of what the father even represented, whether religiously and so forth. Even the men who uphold this, before they come and warn you and say you are loved, you are lovable, you are secure, honor yourself, pour into yourself, cry, Face that's what's unresolved when it comes to men. Rather than giving you a fucking character out of a novel, rather than giving you something to keep you in a loop of searching, that right there is a fucking spell. That right there is such a fucking manipulation and so forth. I'm not asking no one to accept or believe it. I challenge you to believe in yourself, to love yourself. Because you know what that does? That awakens something in you. Then you'll start to reconnect to your ancestors way before, your grandma and them who lived this shit out, who came before you, before the overthrown or the confusion or a lot of things in that made it seem like this person was a hierarchy or this person this and this. And all of that, now that the veil is thin, of course the truth is supposed to be uncomfortable. But at the same time, I didn't come to destroy you. I came to support and watering you. And in that, I had to learn to water myself. And I won't ever forget that. So again, I'm able to hold these conversations or have these things that, again, that was not of importance then, but is very significant now for a lot of you as women to be, to realize that so now that you learn how to build a womanhood, sisterhood, to learn how to build these things without trying to drag your kids along or drag people along into your hurricane, into your storm. We have to realize, like, it's certain things individually we have to see so we be able to return and pour it into the children. That's the beauty of all of this. And it's unfolding beautifully. Some of y'all, I know, some of y'all, for some of y'all just need 30 minutes, an hour, shit. Eventually, as you plant seeds, a day, a cycle, which is a week, and so forth. But that starts with you. That's why the significance of these conversations are very vital, because I know what's happening. And I know to whom is given, much is required. So again, it's the conversations. I just saw a shirt that said next level, a little boy. But it's the conversations I'm realizing that connects the dots between something that seems like it was lost in time. But through generations, this is important. Why this is significant right now. Because a lot of you you're just living with shit that's not just so much unresolved, is that you never had the opportunity to resolve it. For some of your fathers, they're not even here in the physical anymore. For some of your fathers, they don't create families. For some of your fathers, it's so many different things. They're so consumed by that, spirit of certain being so consumed by their careers and religion and so forth. Some of you right now have rage and resentment, an inner dialogue on what it is and how you see not just yourself, but men, but the idea of what men are. And don't realize how that again affects your son, how that too will affect how you raise them, how you water yourself and water them, and so forth. So it makes sense. I tell y'all all the time, it makes sense why a mother who hasn't healed certain things within herself or acknowledged it will push her daughter out. It makes so much sense. If you really look at the pattern, it makes so much sense. Because why the fuck would I give you what I didn't get? And some of you don't even know how. You don't even know how to nurture the women, the little girls. And it's not your fault. Some of you don't even know how. It comes a point in time you don't know how to raise these little boys. It's because at a point in his life, if he's just giving all these emotions and being around women that are hypersensitive and, so many different things, then when you connect to see how the absent father or the father not being there is literally initiation or preparing you how you're going to raise your son. This is what I'm here for. Again, these conversations, because think about the conversation you didn't have with a father. That still is important, the conversation you need to have with your son, because then It all connects. It all connects. Because if you're stable and secure as a woman emotionally and so forth, and a lot of us, okay, we navigate through this. It's not about being perfect. Then why do you think you wouldn't have those conversations with your son about the woman that you have become? Because then wouldn't you encourage him to be with something that reflects you? So think about even unconsciously what you're doing. Whether you know it or aware or not, you're still showing him what he is going to accept or most likely be in. And some of the time, you're going to hate it. Most of the times, you're going to have a lens of pushing away the girl that's really healthy for him. You will say, oh, I want my son to be with someone, but sometimes, like, you'll see the fact of how I've seen this, like how people would implement their selves and their children's relationship in an unhealthy way. You know, again, not allowing them in an enmeshment way, not allowing them to learn or go through the experience or exercise their free will. So when you smother someone, you're not allowing someone to exercise their free will. And I had to learn this even through connections, seeing it and so forth. That's what I mean, how people will drag you into their storm. I've seen hateful shit, wicked shit, to where certain family members will do stuff purposely to their children so that when they have children of certain things, y'all don't realize the curse in that shit. Like how a spirit will literally make sure that that lineage doesn't progress. Think about certain patterns young, how they want to make sure that you don't outgrow them because of the envy and jealousy or the resentment. That has a lot to do with childhood wounds. That has a lot to do with what you experience, childhood traumas, experiences. The conversations you never had about, well, Dad, how do I navigate through this? What type of men, this and this and this and this. It goes on and on. Women too. Like I'm telling you, with me, never had the conversations. I never got a warning. I never got nothing or no woman ever telling me what type of women avoid, even spiritually, Jezebel, incubus. I never had no woman in my life tell me that woman or this person, da 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 da. But I've had a woman try to, it wasn't even a warning. I just knew now, what I know now, the awareness, to try to implant herself because she knew the significance of the connection and what it would bring, like right now, the awareness, the clarity, the value, the worth that I needed to see for myself. And I was telling my bro this. A lot of stuff people don't realize, like on a deeper spiritual level, a lot of women can see, and men, I'm gonna say this for women first. Women, a lot of men who are in tune or aware, they prey on you. A lot of elder men, once you realize a motherfucker ain't healed and really ain't did no shadow work or really try to face something in himself, his patterns are naturally going to be to prey on you. Whatever you're dealing with spiritually, that spirit is going to attempt to prey or try to attach itself. See, a lot of the significance is restore the spirituality, the spiritual significance, the discernment, the intuition, and to knowing that because your children, we as kids already had this shit. It's just as much as we inherited what y'all call curses, it's just as much as where the curses is the fucking gift. The same shit that's following you through generations, the same behavior patterns and so forth, is a gift right there. And it's the same thing. I was reflecting on the fact of, like, I was dealing with someone, well, before I was saying this, I was telling my bro, there are women who can see your gifts, who can see the significance. And if you're not aware through divine protection, you know, some things happen just before you need to be removed and so forth. Some people don't make it out. Y'all don't realize, like, that's the thing about being a cycle breaker, generational curse breaker. When you step into something, like I said, if you're given the awareness and so forth, to whom is given, much is required. There's a responsibility. It's just like you're giving a child. There's a responsibility that comes with nurturing your inner child. So you can see the significance of that child. Everyone never had this awareness. I said, bro, you best believe that There are women who know that you are gifted or have certain things. And anyway, if you're not aware, they'll fuck up everything about in your life. They don't care. And that's simply because whether it's spiritual or something that, again, has pertained to what they grew up in, what they've experienced. And that's how people will pull you right to hell with them, pull you right into your storm, pull you right into their karma, into their lessons, and so forth. So again, a lot of things that have been reenacted or cycles, it has reached its heads right now. What better for me to keep this shit and not share it with you? There are men. What do you think happened to your grandma? What do you think, when you start to really pay attention, when you see people never got out of relationships, that shit was spiritual. It was something significant. They want to attach themselves. When you see them stay in marriages, it was someone in there, most likely, that was stronger. But some people stayed, they settled. Some people even use, what do they call it? Baneful magic, certain things spiritually. And a lot of you here to restore that shit. So you can pass that significance to your children, to your daughters. To be able to be discerning. For we don't fight with flesh and blood, but spiritual principalities and whatever it is in high and low places. Yes. It's very significant. Because there are people who want to make sure it's just as spiritual as it is physical. So these conversations, a lot of these things that are going to happen, is y'all going to be able to see the significance in when you look at artists, when you look at people in certain places. How do you not connect and correlate to the fact of what your experience is with men? Then you'll be able to start to recognize what these people and who they represent and what their message is. How do you not think that when you look at these people with a spiritual eye, that how are you so trusting? How are you so easily trusting? And it's simply because, ask yourself, what have you went through? So, yeah, to make you do what you do. It's not about being perfect. It's not about enjoying life. Like not enjoying it, you're supposed to. It's your birthright. But, yeah, like I said, I started to really see the significance of if it was up to like the people I grew up with. I had came across a video it was talking about the other day. It was like, it's very intentional and purposeful why I keep a distance from my kids, a distance from the so-called family that I came up in. It's because when I look at it not just from them being physical. I look at it from a fucking spiritual significance. And once y'all realize a lot of y'all family, once you have kids and shit, it's a spiritual thing to where on a deeper level, there's something they don't want you to progress and overcome. And even with that, it's the fact of like the distance and being away from certain things so that you don't get past the idea of seeing it spiritually. You're just trying to see it on the physical. Nah. I got a clear vision of the fact of realizing how some family members don't want to get out of shit. They don't want to get out of shit. They talk about it, but they don't want to do the inner work. They don't want to do the shadow work. And I see a deeper interlining of the fact of like how they're a part of what the fuck I broke free from, what I liberated myself from. So why the fuck would I have my daughter around that shit? To actually see and experience that, knowing the significance physically and spiritually. Why? Some of y'all never actually been around women that you cannot just trust, or men that you can just trust. It ain't even just a trusting aspect. It's like you've been in a pattern so much to where you don't even trust yourself. to even outgrow and experience something different. So now you not believing in that will keep your kids in the same loop and cycle, in the same communities, in the same environments, and so forth. Because you can still be somewhere but not be of it. You can be in it but not be of it. Because, man, I'm telling you, I was like, whoa. And then I also realized, like, some of y'all are the significance of just being, you're just the guiding light, because you have to see the light within yourself. Some of y'all are called to see the light within your own darkness, to see why it's so significant, why you had to meet that person. Because they're carrying something, that spouse, that the mother of your kids, the father, because it was something that you still are in preparation to do. Even sometimes they don't even see it. So they have to come into the awareness, like, you had to make certain decisions for the betterment of all, for you, for the decisions you make. This is self-awareness. When you make a decision for you and the betterment of all, this is where the split has already happened. A lot of people are going to go through shit because the enlightenment comes in the fact of, like, you were just doing stuff just for you. But how many men and women, when you think about why your dad or certain people made decisions, your mother and certain folk, that was their free will, not realizing, in their inability unconsciously to realize, not to see the bigger picture for the betterment of all, it still had a profound effect on you. To be able to realize now, for you to see the bigger picture, how it affects you and everyone involved. Peace and blessings.